This video explains how to move files between two folders on your computer using the R programming language. So without too much talk, let's dive into the R code. So let's assume that on our computer we have two directories on the desktop, which are called My Directory A and My Directory B. And the first directory, which is called My Directory A, contains 3 different files. And we want to move these files from this directory to another directory that is called My Directory B. Then the first step is that we have to specify the paths of those two directories as data objects, as you can see in lines 2 and 3 of the code. So the first line of code, line 2, specifies the path to the first directory, and the second line of code, line 3, specifies the path to the second directory. And then, after running these 2 lines of code, 2 new data objects are created which contain these 2 paths. And then in the next step, we have to list all the files that are contained in the directory that corresponds to the first path. And we can do that using the list.files function, as you can see in line 5 of the code. So after running this line of code, a new data object called myFiles is created, and we can print the content of this data object to the bottom in the RStudio console by running line 6 of the code. And then you can see that we have created a vector object that contains all the names of all the files in our first directory. Now, if you want to copy these files from our first directory to the second directory, we have to use the file.copy function, as you can see in lines 8 and 9. And within the file.copy function, we have to specify the path and the file names in our first directory from which we want to move the files. And then we also have to specify the path and the file names that should be used in the second directory. So after running lines 8 and 9 of the code, you can see that 3 times the logical indicator true is returned at the bottom in the RStudio console, which means that all of our 3 files have been copied. Now, if we check the content of our 2 directories, you can see that currently the first directory, My Directory A, contains the files, and the second directory, My Directory B, also contains the files. However, we want to move those files. So in other words, we still have to delete the files from the first directory. And we can do that, as you can see in line 11 of the code. So in this line of code, we use the file.remove function. And within this function, we specify the file names and the path of our first directory from which we want to delete the files. So after running line 11 of the code, the logical indicator true is returned 3 times once again. And now we can see that all the files have been removed from our first directory. However, they are still contained in the second directory. That's all I wanted to explain in this video. In case you want to learn more on this topic, you may check out my homepage, statisticsglobe.com, because on my homepage I have recently published a tutorial in which I'm explaining the content of this video in some more detail. I will put a link to this tutorial into the description of the video, so you can find it there. If you have liked this video or if you have any questions, let me know in the comments section below. I'll try to respond to all comments as soon as I can. Furthermore, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel to get notified about future video releases. I have already published about 500 videos on this channel, and I'm releasing new videos on a daily basis. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next video.